here's one to explain safety stops and deco stops. Let's start by asking, what is a gradient? Well, if we think about colour, a gradual transition between colours. If we think about a slope, it is a measure of how steep the line or slope is. It's calculated by dividing the vertical height by the horizontal distance. So, to summarise it, it is a change over time or distance. Let's put in a graph to understand it in terms of diving. So we've got pressure in atmospheres, we've got time. The bottom is going to be 1 atmosphere, the surface. And now what we've got is this starting point is the start of our ascent. So we absorb nitrogen as we dive in our fast tissues. We could absorb nitrogen to a pressure equal to the depth we were diving to. So if we were to dive to 20 meters, we could get 3 atmospheres of pressure absorbed into our body. And if we were to ascend at a safe ascent rate of 18 meters a minute, that would actually take us just over a minute to reach to the surface. And this blue line here, therefore, represents the change in pressure over time, or pressure gradient, if you like. You may see this referred to as a tissue gas pressure gradient. If we were diving at 30 meters, 4 atmospheres, and we ascended at the maximum ascent rate of 18 meters a minute, we would see an even steeper slope, an even greater tissue gas pressure gradient, possibly an excessive pressure gradient. Too steep a gas pressure gradient possibly means DCS, bubbles. So let's put in the safety stop depth onto our chart and imagine ascending from 30 meters and doing a safety stop. So now we've got our nice long 3-minute safety stop at 5 meters, 1.5 atmospheres going in there before we then finally ascend to the surface. And when we look at the final pressure gradient from the start of the ascent to the end of the ascent at the surface, it's way less of a slope, there's way less chance of bubble formation. We have reduced the gas pressure gradient by extending the time it takes us to ascend from depth. Deco stops, of course, do the same thing. They're just longer stops or multiple stops at possibly different depths, and they further reduce the gas pressure gradient to be within acceptable levels and avoid DCS.